Well, hello. Welcome back to the Geeknd Live. I am Jamie. Nothing's changed there. And we are going to talk about stuff, including what have I got on our list for this week's alleged entertainment. More Indiana Jones 5 set details. We're going to look at more castles. Also, I really like this. Pedro Pascal and Ewan McGregor interviewed each other for Variety's YouTube channel. I guess they went old school. Maybe put it in the magazine, print on paper and all that as well. It's pretty cool. Also, there's some Mando season 3 not news. We'll discuss that. And Emilia Clarke says some stuff about her solo audition. So we'll talk about that. And then we're going to move into the chat batch mode. So previously on Mondays, we look back at the Bad Batch episode that came out on the Friday. We called that the chat batch. And can't do the Monday just gone, obviously. Don't have a time machine, so can't go back and do it. And also can't do the Monday after. For sure. So sort of slotting it into the regular Geekend Live Thursday show for a little while. I will give anyone who's not watching the Bad Batch or is going to be watching it and wants to avoid spoilers, you will be warned before we enter the chat batch mode. And I will be joined by a guest for that section of the stream, Jess Black from the Cambridge University Star Wars Society. So we got some highbrow, educated geekery coming up. All right, let's just see who's in the chat already. Where are we? All right, so I can see Caleb Diaz was here first, very early. Don't know if he's still here. He's probably given up. 5:18 p.m. UK time. That's like 50 minutes ago or something. Glenn the Geeky Hippie as well, and also Supreme Leader Brad Snoke. You just popped up on my Instagram. If you want to go and check out Brad's cosplaying expertise, that's not even a word, expertise, his cosplaying endeavors, that's a word, then it's on my screen right now. You just popped up, Snoke_show. Go and check out the Snoke show on Instagram for Star Wars cosplaying delights. Also, while we're on the social media interaction, Glenn, I just noticed you tagged me in something on Twitter. Haven't seen it yet, haven't watched it yet, so I'm not ignoring you. But now you know, I am aware of it. And I suppose if I don't get back to you in regards to it, within 3 to 5 business days, which is my average response time, then if I haven't met that, then you know I'm ignoring you. Right, who else? Tristan is here. Tristan, haven't seen you for a while. Good to see you back. Sidge is here as well, who named the chat batch. Jack is here as well. Good to see you, mate. And of course, Chad, the stopwatch Campbell, is here. He may not be here too long. We know Chad is only willing to stay for 30 minutes because that's how long the show should be. Never is. Anyway, I won't go into that if you're new to the Geekend Live. It's a long story, but Chad is supposed to be our human stopwatch, supposed to bring us into a 30-minute kind of show. Never happens. Certainly won't happen now because we've got the chat batch tagged on to the end as well. Yes, Tristan, it has been too long, but it is good to have you back. Yeah, Cambridge Star Wars Society intimidated me as well when I first met Jess, who's featured a few of the things that are on this YouTube channel as part of the Star Wars, Cambridge Star Wars Society. Is basically the only ever attachment involvement I'll have with Cambridge University. So thank you, Jess, for giving me that. Right. Anyway, let's get into our first little bit of chat. All right, so we're going to do another Indiana Jones. I say another, it's the same as last week, really, but a little bit more on the same from last week, really. Bamber Castle. Do you remember we were talking about this last week? It was rumored to be an Indiana Jones 5 set. Well, so much has happened since we last spoke. Indiana Jones himself, Harrison Ford in costume, has been leaked. I'm surprised. I mean, as far as I've seen, maybe they have done this, but I'm surprised that they haven't now put out an official an official image, just to sort of jump on that blurry, pixelated leaked photo. But they've been all over the north of England. So I've learned a bit about Bamburgh Castle since we last spoke about it. It's in Northumberland, which is like north of Newcastle in the north of England. So you're getting pretty much to like the northest point of the country. You're not far from Scotland, put it that way. And they have a castle there called Bamburgh. And it is definitely being used for Indiana Jones 5. That has been confirmed. And it's currently closed to the public. So if you want to get down there, you can hover around the outskirts, but you can get back into the castle. Here it says the iconic Grade 1 listed beauty spot is currently closed to visitors while the production is underway, but is set to reopen on June the 14th. So you could go there on June the 14th, which is in 4 days' time, and maybe see some leftovers from the shoot. Oh, I love a green crane. I do love a green crane. There we go. And I'm on JediNews.com, by the way, at the moment. But anyway, more Indy 5 stuff. Let me bring up a different window. I do wish that they would let me line up more than one web page at a time on this thing. Right, hang on a second. I'm getting no better at this in terms of getting quicker. There we go. Some more indie stuff here. Yes, Glenn, the castle was set on fire. So apparently in that article, I think it was that article or something else I read, the residents of Bamburgh, I suppose Bamburgh's a place, it's got a castle, they were told to, sort of stay clear and beware of fires and fireworks, pyrotechnics and all that. So, they've been doing some big action scenes there, it would seem. And another place I'd never heard of previously, no offence to the good people of Northumberland, but Grosmont Village. Grosmont Village hosts Hollywood stars. So Harrison Ford has been popping up on everyday folks social media feeds, drinking coffee in little local coffee shops. He's been out cycling on his days off. I'm seeing all sorts of Harrison Ford as Harrison Ford, and also Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, as we can see there. I'm sure people have seen the masked crusader there. That is Indiana Jones in costume in Grosmont Village. Also, Mads Mikkelsen has been spotted around Newcastle as well. I know Newcastle. The city, great town. I don't know the surrounding areas like Northumberland, and I think they're in South Shields as well. And also it says here North Yorkshire. Filming has been taking place. So maybe Grosmont Village is in, should have read this really before I start talking about it. Look, Grosmont Village is in North Yorkshire, which is not Northumberland. So anyway, Hollywood stars have descended on a sleepy North Yorkshire village for filming of the new Indiana Jones movie. They've been using a North Yorkshire Moors railway with props such as tanks and Nazi uniforms. Excitement has been building in Grosmont, with one woman tweeting she had bumped into Ford's stunt double. Well, second best, I guess. That's Vicky Laven. Don't know if you can hear an alarm going off in the background, because I can, so you probably can. I'll ignore it for now until I start smelling smoke. Is Bamburgh Castle on fire again? Right, anyway. Vicky said, "Look who walked past us in Grosmont today. Our son asked him if he was Indiana Jones, and he tipped his hat and said no, he was just a stunt double." So you just walking around in costume to go and get his latte. Or maybe it was Brad Snoke cosplaying over here in the UK now. Right, anyway, so loads of Indiana Jones set stuff being, that's the thing about going out on location. The studio has very little control. They have, location marshals, which are trying to keep the public away. Obviously, there's only so much they can do of that. And obviously now we're in the age of social media. Everybody's got a camera on them, on their person. And a lot of people even have drones as well these days, don't they? So, this is going to happen. And that's what happens when you go off filming on location. If they wanted to avoid it, they should have used the volume. So anyway, all looks pretty cool and exciting that this film is on the go. Last week we were talking about the rumors that they were here and about to start shooting in the likes of Bamber Castle. But since then, we've seen, proper health and safety signage, and also Indiana Jones himself in costume. Doesn't get much more this is happening than that. So there we go. Very good. Dale's here as well. Dale, good to see you back. Who says, if the Crystal Skull was set in the 50s, I presume that this new film must take place in the 60s sometime. Chad, the Stopwatch Campbell, is still here. Indiana Jones 5 is a film I'm very mixed on. 4 is awful. It is enjoyable in the way that episode 1 is enjoyable, a 50s sci-fi for kids, but it's not good, and at least the Phantom Menace is setting up a story. Well, maybe, Indy 4 was setting up a story that we just didn't realize at the time, and it all might become clear in Indy 5. All right, so I'm going to take this out, and now, what was I going to do next? Oh yeah, has anyone seen the interview between Pedro Pascal and Ewan McGregor? I say interview, it's the best kind of interview. It doesn't feel like an interview. It just feels like I don't know how well those guys know each other, but it just feels like a conversation between two people that know each other, like each other, and respect each other. I'd like to say that my interviews are a bit like that, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I command the respect from my guests. Anyway, I'm going to share a few details from it with you. I'm not going to play it. I don't know if I'll get in trouble from Variety. I doubt it. I'm promoting their video. And by the way, I've linked to it. In the video description. So if you want to go and watch it after this stream, you can. You can do what you want, really. You can play both at the same time if you want. I can see Daniel Riggers in the chat as well. Good to see you again, mate. So yeah, this is lovely. This is conversation, let's say, rather than an interview between Ewan McGregor and Pedro Pascal. The full version is about half an hour, and they do obviously go over a number of subjects. It's part of the is it Actors on Actors? Yeah, Actors on Actors series that Variety magazine are presumably doing. And they chat quite a little bit of Star Wars. Obviously, they have that in common, both being part of it. And two really nice moments for me, anyway, in my opinion, that were nice, were they both talked about the volume. So the volume, obviously, is the technology that the Mandalorian uses. So there's no green screen or blue screen. The environments are around them on huge screens. And the environments, I'm just dumbing it down because that's what I do, because it's the only way I understand things. The environments change, adapt as the scene moves on, and the actors can react to it. And Ewan McGregor has always been quite outspoken about the fact he didn't really enjoy the green screen and the blue screen of working on the Star Wars prequels. Found it quite difficult and uninspiring, and now he's experiencing the volume himself and absolutely loving it. So he discusses that with Pedro Pascal, who obviously is now very experienced within the volume. So it's really interesting. And also they talk about working with Yodas, different types of Yodas anyway. So obviously Pedro Pascal, who is quite interesting. I'd never noticed this before. He doesn't like to talk much about Grogu in terms of the workings of Grogu, and I kind of like that in a way. If I interviewed him, I would want to ask the question still anyway. But I kind of like the fact that he's sort of, to a certain extent, trying at least to keep a lid on it in terms of the process of bringing that character to life. In some ways, you want to give credit and exposure to the people that are responsible for bringing it to life, and he does compliment the team behind it, but at the same time, when I interviewed Anthony Daniels on the channel, he was talking about after during A New Hope, or at least once A New Hope was out, Star Wars, in terms of the press team, were not crediting him so much in the publicity. They wanted the viewer to sort of not know that there was someone inside C-3PO and really believe it was this droid. And yeah, so I kind of like having a little bit of mystery behind the magic of Grogu. But he does talk about it. And yeah, and he, really compliments the team and how good they are. That makes Grogu, feel so realistic in the real world, pre adding any extra effects that they might in post. And that, makes his job even easier to work with a puppet. And then Ewan, on the other hand, talks about working with the original Puppet Yoda. I say original Puppet Yoda, I don't mean the Empire Strikes Back. I mean the original Puppet Yoda in The Phantom Menace before it got replaced by the CGI Yoda. He talks about how he really enjoyed, working with the Puppet Yoda, and partly because he felt like a kid again. And secondly, because it was there, it was real. And he did say something, it was quite funny. He said something about the fact that obviously there's a team, including Frank Oz, working the Puppet Yoda. And then as soon as someone calls cut, Yoda just falls dead, because obviously they stop operating him, which he said at first was a little bit disturbing, but then he got used to it. And then going back to Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, that Puppet Yoda was gone. And, for him, the experience wasn't the same. And the acting process, of course, wasn't the same for him. So if you've got the time, I'd go and check out this video from Variety. I've linked to it in the video description. Obviously, I have nothing to gain from Variety gaining viewers. I just genuinely think it's a really nice chat. So if you want to go and check it out, do so. And that's not the only Mandalorian thing that we're going to chat about. Oh, Jack's right. Smash that like button. Yeah, for me, the man, Jamie. By the way, actually, that's reminding me, Jack, thank you. You've reminded me. Definitely hit the like button. Why not? But also, I'm trying something out with the streams. I'm doing more kind of like vague thumbnails, you might have noticed the last couple of weeks. But also, every time I stream, right, I've said this for ages, every time I stream, I lose a load of subscribers. The moment I schedule it, so I haven't even started the stream, I lose a load. And then in the kind of 24 hours after it's finished, I use loads. And it's getting worse. Like last week was about 30. And I'm a small channel. That's a big hit. Now, part of me is like, well, if they're not going to watch the content anyway, that's okay. There's no point having them as subscribers if they're not watching the content, and maybe the channel's popped up out of the blue and they don't remember why they subscribed to it and they leave. That's okay. But I decided to do some research to try and find out a little bit more about it, to see if there's anything I'm doing wrong that I can improve on. There's a lot of that. But I also then went down a rabbit hole, not like a weird one, where I started learning about how streams can damage smaller channels, and in terms of damage your normal content. So I then went back to the analytics, and it's true that when I've been doing 2 streams a week with the chat batch, and this isn't why I've not done the chat batch this week and I won't be doing it next week on a Monday, but they can affect your regular upload, because something like when you do a stream, obviously your click-through rate, is lower, the retention rate is lower because people just dip in and out, and that gives YouTube bad signals or something, and then they will treat your next video release, which is something I've spent 3 or 4 days editing, differently. So there's 2 options, 2 ideas that were given to me. One was to set up a separate channel for live streams. I think that's really counterproductive for a small channel like me, so I'm not going to do that yet. Secondly was to unlist the video when you come off air, when you stop the stream. So if you've got your notifications on, you will still be able to access the stream. But if you haven't, you may not find the stream once it goes off live. Unlisting is like sort of half making the video private. But if you've got the link already, i.e. through a notification, or if you follow me on Twitter and I've tweeted it or something, then you can still access the stream. So I'm going to try that. I don't want to start a separate channel for it. It's too small. The channel can't be spreading it like that at this stage. Eventually, final thing on this, eventually when the quality's better and what have you, because I'm not happy with the quality of the streams at the moment, technically, I would once the show's finished, I'll clip, the sort of best bits and release them as separate videos, which I know a lot of people do, and then unlist the long stream. So I don't want to stop doing streams. I think it's really good to hang out with familiar profile pictures and names, but I'm just going to try and see what effect this unlisting thing happens. And Chad says here, I guess try the unlist, but I do love the live stream and mini family, or do a monthly big stream. Who knows? Yeah, I want to try and keep the weekly stream. A monthly big stream would be another option, but let's see what this unlist thing does, and hopefully we can keep the weekly stream going without damaging the channel. Because again, I love the streams as well for the community aspect. I'm with you there, chat. I'm with you there. And thank you, Glenn. I'm glad it's your live stream favorite. Probably your favorite live stream of the week. All right. Wow, you prefer my live stream to Kevin Smith's live stream? Well, you know what? The good thing about this live stream is that it can only get better. Because eventually I'm going to get a new laptop, better internet, better camera that works with the laptop, and also a better host. Hey, right. Anyway, and yeah, the interaction will stay. No, Prodonian, don't worry. You've got notifications on, I'm sure. You better have, so you will be able to watch them later. If you've got notifications on, you will be able to watch the streams after. And I know that because last week I actually unlisted it after like millions of people left. If only there were millions to leave. And people still are able to come on and watch and comment. People that I know who regularly come on and watch and comment. So you will, Prodonian. Let me know if you can't find it. And I'll send it to you on Patreon or Discord, and you will be able to find it. Yes, The Last Jedi Sige was a puppet. Yeah, there was something a bit weird in certain shots about that puppet. Didn't quite, just looked a little bit off. But Frank Oz was back operating. Was the chief operator of the puppet. Dale says the YouTube algorithm is a technological terror. Yes, it is. But no, like the streams are not going anywhere. I'm just trying to find a way of, at the end of the day, there's like, sort of anything from 10 to 30 of us that are here live, and then it can get up to like 150 views. How many of them are real views? Probably not that many. There's probably only about 100 people watching them. And I think all of those people will have notifications on. So I don't think anyone's going to, not be able to find it. And also streams don't bring you in a new audience anyway. So I don't think it would be restricting the channel in that sense. But eventually, when the channel's bigger, we'll be welcoming, hopefully, lots of new people on the streams, and I won't have to unlist them afterwards. Anyway, it's not going anywhere, so don't you go anywhere, all right? And so there's some housekeeping that I didn't plan. I should have done that at the start or at the end. Anyway, I'm gonna get cracking on because my guest will be arriving soon. Chad says I would try the ultimate combo with hype. These are the actors you're looking for. Live stream with Ahmed Best, and the live streams could really pick up. I would love to do some more. Absolutely, yeah. A few of you have mentioned that in the past. We will, I promise, do. These are the actors you're looking for live. Do you know what? It's something I could quite easily do now. It's not a problem in terms of the actors. Ahmed would do it. I think Greg Grunberg, my mate Greg, he'd do it. So I will do that, but that's really down to the technology right now. I'd rather do that when we're really getting the stream looking good and not having internet issues and stuff like that. Basically, when I'm not in a shed. Probably, but that is definitely going to happen in the future. And Pridonian, I'm glad it is the only live stream that you try to watch live. Glenn, to answer your question, do you lose subs on non-live stream days? Yeah, but not to the same extent. Like I'll show you next time if I remember the graph on the YouTube analytics, and it shows you what you did on that each day in terms of if you uploaded, if you did a stream, if you did nothing, and whenever. Obviously, you want to see things going up, but whenever there's a live stream, it's like. Now, when you do a normal upload, you're probably going to lose 1 or 2 subscribers. And on random days, you're probably going to lose 1 or 2 subscribers because YouTube are often deleting inactive accounts Also, I've done the odd, like, I think Marvel and Star Wars and Stranger Things, there's quite a lot of crossover in terms of the fandoms. Obviously, I mostly do Star Wars, but if I do Marvel, I don't see any sort of negative impact. But if I've done something like Breaking Bad, which I'm a big fan of, and I have done stuff in the past, I can imagine if you've subscribed for my Breaking Bad video, there's probably maybe less chance that you want to see Star Wars videos every week, So you've subscribed to Breaking Bad, then all of a sudden a Star Wars video pops up and another one. I think people are eventually, if they're not Star Wars fans, going to unsubscribe. So there's always going to be a little bit of that whenever you upload anything or do a live stream, from what I've read and what I've personally experienced. But the live streams are crazy in terms of the dips, like we're talking like double figures. Like I said, was it like 30 last week, I think, and like 20 the week before? Just keeps getting worse. But anyway, I'm going to bring up the next story because got to get through. So Mandalorian season 3, I mean, I don't think we were really expecting it this year, were we? To be honest, that has been clear for a while. But to be honest, I feel like, personally anyway, I feel like I was expecting it in maybe late 2021. Maybe late or early 2022. So the Book of Boba Fett coming out December 2021. I was always under the impression there wouldn't be too much of a gap between that finishing and the Mandalorian season 3 starting, in terms of starting on Disney Plus, not starting production. But what we have learned this week, this is the non-news really, because there is no news. That's the news story, that there is no news because it's not even started production yet, and it doesn't look like it will be starting production for quite some time. And apparently this is a Collider exclusive. Here's when the Mandalorian season 3 is filming, plus new details on the Book of Boba Fett connection. Right, let's have a look. Star Wars fans are going to have to wait just a little bit longer for more adventures from The Mandalorian. Upcoming spin-off series, The Book of Boba Fett, has officially wrapped filming and is on schedule for a December premiere on Disney+. That's good. Now, The Mandalorian, which reintroduced Temuera Morrison's bounty hunter to the Star Wars franchise. Hey, hang on. Also, Jeremy Bulloch's bounty hunter. Daniel Logan's bounty hunter. And if I want to get really kind of picky, I could go into like the likes of Dickie Beer, the various stunt actors that help bring that bounty hunter to the Star Wars franchise. But fair enough. We were reintroduced with Temuera Morrison in terms of the Mandalorian. Okay, I'll carry on now. I'm not gonna get funny again about any of this now. The Book of Boba Fett will be a more closely linked spin-off as well, and sources have told us to think of the series as The Mandalorian Season 2.5. So that makes me, I always assumed and kind of hoped actually that the Book of Boba Fett would be like really flashback heavy in terms of like filling in the gaps between obviously when we last saw him getting gobbled up by a Sarlacc to when we, saw him in the Mandalorian. But and also I was hoping that Daniel Logan could get called back as well for one of those flashbacks. I think he deserves it, but what I think doesn't really matter. But no, it looks, I mean, I'm sure there could still be room for flashbacks, but it says here it's likely to be a more closely linked spin-off to The Mandalorian. So is it running in real time? So yeah, they're saying think of it as The Mandalorian Season 2.5. And further down, however, Season 3 of The Mandalorian is not currently heading into production. That's because the LA stages are for the moment in use by the upcoming Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And then there's a bit about Kenobi that we all know about. We hear the plan is for The Mandalorian Season 3 to begin filming at the end of this year or in very early 2022. What that means is the season will not be premiering on Disney Plus until late 2022, which is kind of disappointing. But that's the way it is. This is the way, whether we like it or not. So we've got the Book of Boba in December. What's going to keep us going? I feel like I'm off track in terms of keeping up with what's going on. What's going to keep us going between the Book of Boba and Mando season 3. I know there's so much in the works, but like we don't have a release date for Kenobi, do we? And Ahsoka, etc. So what's going to keep us going, man? Right, I'm going to pop over to the chat quickly. Hello, Ahsoka. Hey, when's your season airing on Premiere, Disney Premiere, Disney Plus, whatever it's called? David, welcome. Good to see you, mate. We're going to do some chat batch soon. David, by the way, is Jones Capone. Did the logo for me. Thank you. Again. And apparently David was ignored because, as Chad said here, Ahsoka stole the limelight. And David's cool with that. I'm just commentating on the chat. Ahsoka is way cooler than me anyways. Right, where am I? I can't, the chat like sort of like fast forwards on me. And Daniel says, I feel like Disney Plus has been super worth the price. And with all the Star Wars series and Marvel series, it's been by far the best content lately. Yeah, let's talk Loki next week on the stream. I haven't watched the first episode yet, but I'm hearing mostly positive reactions to it. 1 minute remaining. Uh-oh. Thank you for keeping me in the loop, the time loop that I tend to ignore, Chad. Pridonian is correct here. Anticipation will keep us going. That will get us through the many months it now turns out to be that there will be between the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian Season 3. Not only do we have Book of Boba Fett, but I think Visions is also coming out sometime before Mando will be. All right. Yeah, I'm sure. There's so much stuff that hasn't got a release date yet. I'm sure things will be popping up. The filling to that Boba Mando sandwich. All right, one more thing on this before we move into the chat batch. Let me just stop the screen. So Solo. Oh, I should say, by the way, hang on. No, let me not open that yet. I should say that there is going to be a spoiler here for the War of the Bounty Hunters comic. So if you're planning on reading it and haven't read it yet, you might want to leave the stream or mute. In fact, like, don't even just mute the stream because it's going to pop up on screen. So disappear for about 3 or 4 minutes. All right, there's your warning. Okay, let me get this story up. So Emilia Clarke gave out a little tidbit. It's just a little tidbit, this people, okay? Little tidbit on her Star Wars audition experience. Game of Thrones star reveals her unexpected audition for Star Wars role. Kira, the music producer. So she talks very highly about her experience on Solo, working for Star Wars. Of course, she is no stranger, I should say, to working for big franchises with Game of Thrones and also soon-to-be Marvel series Secret Invasion. She says about working on Star Wars, the people behind it are the best at what they do. It's amazing to be part of that high pedigree. But Marvel, Star Wars, they all give you fake audition sites. Now, I think in Emilia Clarke's case, it would be a fake audition purely just for the character she's playing. She will know it's a Star Wars audition, I think, because when I've spoken to actors in the past for interviews, it's quite mixed. Often smaller parts don't even know they're auditioning for a Star Wars. Sometimes that's the case for bigger parts as well, but mostly not. So I feel like she would know she's auditioning for something in Star Wars, and she was given a fake role. And let's get some more information on that fake role. Here's a quote. I remember for Star Wars, the character I read was a made-up music producer. I'd love to sort of, I know various audition tapes are out there, but I would love some of these just random, made-up character-based audition scripts to, even if the tapes aren't released, just send out some of the scripts. But yeah, no, I quite like that. I'd like a more kind of musically themed Star Wars series of some sort, like the kind of like the biopic for Viggo and Dan. That'd be pretty cool. So we don't know anything about this music producer, this Star Wars music producer that Emilia Clarke auditioned for. Perhaps it was the George Martin of Viggo and Dan and the modal nodes. That'd be cool, man. I want a biopic of Viggo and Dan and how the modal nodes came together. And George Martin, as played by Emilia Clarke, can be involved. All right, anyway, little tidbit there. Oh, and anyway, so here's the bit about the spoiler. I better get through this as quickly as possible. The character, of course, re-emerged in this comic, and she knows about it, and she's very happy about it. She says it means the absolute world. I know her backstory. I know her history. Maybe the movie didn't get to go there, and this advert has helpfully cut off some of the words. But she goes on to say it was an honor and a privilege to be part of that universe as an actor. So then to see the character actually be taken on to the origin. Thanks, advert, Graham. Yeah, Graham, thanks for ruining this. Anyway, she was obviously very pleased to see this backstory be discussed a little bit in comic book form. And I think that comic and, Emilia Clarke is not doing... I know John Boyega's sort of... backpedaled it a little bit, but at one point he was like, no, I ain't returning to Star Wars, I'm done. She's obviously, certainly not on that vibe at all, very positive towards it. And the fact that they have brought that character back in the comic, I don't know, I feel like maybe there won't be a Solo 2, maybe there won't be a Solo live action series on Disney Plus, but I don't think we've seen the last of some of the new characters that were introduced to us in that film. Yeah, Dale, that's what I want. I want Cy Snootles, a Star Wars story. That would do. I'm going to take Graham off now. I'm not happy about Graham. We've given Graham, who it looks like sells bathrooms, we've given him a good plug here. But he kind of like bullied me into that plug, didn't he? Right. So, Chad, you're saying that you loved the special edition. Or it wasn't even a special edition, just a later version of when Yubnub was taken out. Yeah, they kind of do all together now, everyone. Do. I prefer that as well to Yubnub, have to say. Yeah, Jedi Rock's not a fan of. I'm there with you on that one. And Femi Taylor, who played Ula, also is with you on that one, as she said in our interview together. Glenn the Geeky Hippie said it's droids that we're getting soon. I thought I heard Alex and Molly talking about Visions. Oh no, you're asking, is it droids we're getting soon? Yeah, Visions has been mentioned, isn't it? In the chat today. Is Visions the anime style one? If it is, I think that is the next thing we're getting after the Bad Batch. Was it special edition? Yeah, well, whatever edition it was, I prefer that to Yubnub. I have no problem with Yubnub. I just think that's the better closing theme, if you like, to the trilogy. Glenn the Geeky Hippie and Tristan have both confirmed that Visions is the anime one. All right. Sorry if I've missed anything. The chat is doing that weird... He's not being rude. Kira must like the jizz. He's not being rude, but I agree. Right, okay. I am now going to move us into chat batch territory. So if you are not watching the Bad Batch but plan to watch the Bad Batch, now is your warning to leave the stream. Leave the stream immediately for your own good, your own safety, because we're going to do the chat batch, which has been usually on a Monday, where we look back at the most recent episode of the Bad Batch. Now, the most recent episode was like almost a week ago. Tomorrow is a new day and a new episode for the Bad Batch, but we will be looking at episode 6. Yeah, Decommissioned is episode 6. So if you want to avoid spoilers, yeah, Daniel has hit the nail on the head here. I was complaining about losing subscribers during live streams, and now I'm asking you to leave the live stream. Essentially, that's what's happening. And Glenn is right. I lose them when I schedule them, and I lose them after them. Like not during. as far as I know. It's like before and after. So anyway, also the reason why, like I said before, just because I forgot to say, the reason I said before, I don't mind subscribers leaving, because it's like, if you subscribe for something else and then realize that's not what you're getting from this channel, then that's fine. There's kind of no point, from my point of view, and also your point of view of being subscribed. But the fact that I then read up that actually streams for smaller channels can damage your regular content, because naturally all streams get lower figures, lower retention rates, etc. All this YouTube algorithm jargon, and then YouTube kind of like looks a little bit more negatively towards your channel. So when you do a release of a video that you've worked days on, like an edited video, then it can punish you on your next video. So if I've been doing 2 live streams in a week, like I was, and then release a video, it's not getting pushed out by YouTube even to my subscribers, which is actually a normal YouTube thing. It's really complicated, but hopefully this unlist thing might help. But it doesn't mean the stream's going anywhere. And the chat batch not being on a Monday for the last week and the next week isn't to do with that, although maybe it will be to do with that in the future. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, let's start the live stream, and also live streaming on Twitch. I mean, the other option is to start, like I said before, start a new separate channel for the Geeknd Live on YouTube, but that's spreading myself too thin. At the moment, I need to be focusing on this one channel. If this channel was bigger, then that's definitely plausible. But at the moment, spreading myself too thin is probably not the right approach. But eventually, if I can't get the streams going here, in terms of these technical issues, then maybe setting up a separate channel is the answer. I know some channels do that, but at the moment for me, I think I'm too small to spread myself that thin. So anyway, let's do this chat batch. I know Pridonian's gone, who is not watching the chat batch yet. I need to put my headphones on because we have a guest for the chat batch. I'm going to be joined now by Jess Black, who is a writer, amongst other things, including being from the Cambridge University Star Wars Society. And as I mentioned before, has featured some of my YouTube work on the Star Wars Society of Cambridge University, which, once again, as I said before, is the only time Cambridge University have ever been associated with me. So thank you, Jess, for bringing that association. Let's bring you in now to the chat. Jess, can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear. Jamie, can you hear me?
Yes. This is a good start, isn't it?
It is. Thanks for having me, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I was flattered, and I'm very much enjoying the show so far. Although I would say that Jedi Rocks is actually a very good piece of music, despite what the naysayers say.
So you mean it's a very good piece of music, as in, like, it's like, is it on any of your playlists? Is it on your sort of bedroom chill out playlist? But is it a good piece of music for the film, in that scene, in that moment?
I think it enhances the Skywalker saga immeasurably.
Fair enough. I disagree, but I'm not angry that you don't share the same opinion as me, Jess. It's all right, we can get along. But I suppose you're younger than me, so maybe you're a lot younger than me. Everyone's younger than me these days, apart from Glenn the Geeky Hippie in the chat. So maybe that was the only version of Return of the Jedi you saw, maybe.
It was, but when watching it, even when younger, I was aware that something was probably up with it, because it goes from a cut to like practical effect Jabba to like strange CGI warbling. So my childish brain knew something was up. Yeah, it is a little bit jarring. Right. Well, now we've got that. Now we've got that out of the system. We're going to talk a little bit about the most recent Bad Batch episode, which I believe was episode 6, Decommissioned. First of all, though, do you want to just tell us a little bit? I have linked, by the way, to your Twitter and also the Cambridge University Star Wars Society in the video description. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the society and also your writing work as well? Yeah, happily. Well, as Jamie said, I'm the president of Cambridge University Star Wars Society, and I founded it last year. And don't worry, it's not like an elite Cambridge thing. It's just a group of Star Wars fans who meet up. Well, we used to meet up. Now we do internet things because of COVID. where we just watch Star Wars, talk about Star Wars, and then usually go out afterwards. So it's a good combination of things for that. And you can check out our website as well. As Jamie said, it's in the video description. If you just search CUSWS on Google, it'll come up, and there's a bunch of interviews with and people from the Star Wars animation. We've got some people from Rebels and some people from the movies. I interviewed Watto, and of course I interviewed Jamie twice. So those are the best ones. So yeah, if you go on the website, there's some good material for any Star Wars fan there. And when I'm not doing
sorry, no, I cut you off. No, I was just say you also you've had Ken Knapsack on, haven't you? And Joseph.
Oh yeah,
Scrimshaw
Ken and Joseph. Well. Yeah, a lot of a mix between fans and content creators and people from the movies. I need to get back on that soon. Obviously inspired in part by your interview series, Jamie. So
inspired to do better, which you can.
And when I'm not doing Star Wars Society, which I've not been doing recently because of COVID, I'm writing. Sometimes I write about Star Wars for fan-sided. You might have heard of Dork Side of the Force. I don't write for them anymore, but I used to. And so you can find some of my old articles on there. Or I've recently got a few things lined up for Star Wars Editor, the website. And also I wrote and self-published a book, which isn't Star Wars, but if you want to buy it, you can as well. and also you can follow me on Twitter, which is this, where I usually talk about Star Wars comics. So that's me.
Good. Yeah. And like I say, I've linked to your Twitter and to the Society's website as well. Just realised got the wrong branding on because we're in the chat batch mode now. There we go. I just spotted a comment in the chat from Glenn the Geeky Hippie, something to do with Oxford University. Do they have a Star Wars Society? And if so, is there a rivalry?
I've not. I found York has one. I'm making connections with various Star Wars Society. I just saw that Star Wars Meg has said that she was an Oxford alum. So that's cool. Maybe we can do a cross university a varsity Star Wars Society thing, maybe. And also
but keep it pleasant though. Keep it pleasant.
Yeah. We'll be bigger than the boat race. And to Chad, you can indeed become an honorary member of the Star Wars Society. you may. All are welcome. You all may be.
Wait, does this? Am I already an honorary member? Or
you
not?
are. You're more than an honorary member. You're one of the pillars. I also forgot to mention that our what do you call it? Patron or celebrity person is Vanessa Marshall from Rebels. So that's cool.
Oh, cool. That is very good. I thought you meant patron as in the website I and every other YouTuber used to beg for money from people. But of course, you mean like a patron.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very cool. And Star Wars Meg as well said Happy Pride, by the way, Jess.
Thank you, Meg.
So let's get into the Bad Batch chat. So we're talking about, it is episode 6, isn't it? Yeah.
I believe so. I've got it up here. It is indeed.
I'm losing track. There's so many of them. Well, there's 6 of them, and this one was called Decommissioned. Before we get into the details of this episode, just give me an overview of your thoughts to the season in general so far.
I went into the Bad Batch thinking, do we really need a show about these 4 characters from that one arc of the Clone Wars, which was probably my least favorite arc of season 7. And was quickly won over. I was also thinking, do we really need to explore this era, Rise of the Empire? I was more excited about High Republic and stuff. But then by the time of the first episode, that really won me over to the idea of the era and the characters. I mean, the first episode was fantastic. And since then, I've just really loved the episodic feel. And the characters have become so well-rounded and fantastic. Also, the music is probably the best of any Star Wars show. So I've gone from thinking, do we really need this, to it being, I've got a very special place in my heart for the Bad Batch, and I look forward every Friday to watching it. I saw Star Wars Jim on Twitter said that it's quite a cozy show, whereas the Mandalorian's a bit bigger show, and I agree with that.
Yeah, cozy's a good way of describing it. So Decommission then, and also if you're new to the chat batch, this is very interactive. We are all together, the chat batch. It's not just Jess and I, it's also you in the chat. So let us know your thoughts on this episode, and probably in the next 20 minutes or so we'll be wrapping up, and I will ask you for your marks out of 10. Don't put them in yet. I will come over. I will tell you when. I'll tell you when. So anyway, I wrote a few notes about like the kind of my version of the synopsis of this episode. We're going to get into decommissioned now. So the Bad Batch are officially mercenaries now on a mission for Sid to retrieve a separatist tactical droid on Corellia before it gets decommissioned, although they are not the only ones after the aforementioned sisters who appeared in the Clone Wars. Trace and Rafa Martez, also mentioned by Tristan Peterson in the chat there. They're also on the hunt, but who are they working for? That is a question that we're going to come on to as well. I saw Daniel Rigger as well in the chat referencing it as well. So I'm going to get your thoughts on that shortly, Jess, but just hold off on it for now. And also Wrecker's headache got a lot worse as well in this episode. And we heard a lovely ichuta. I always love to hear an ichuta whenever I can. And I feel like I did hear an ichuta in this episode. Maybe that was just me. Maybe I'm hearing things, specifically ichutas. All right, Jess. Before we get into some details, mostly about that hologrammy figure at the end and Wrecker's headache, just overall, what was this episode like for you?
I thought it was the best so far of the bunch, including the
premiere.
Really? Yeah, I was such a fan of it, and I was thrilled that this was the week I was going to be able to talk about it with you. I really liked the premise of they were going to go to Corellia and do a heist. I thought the whole setting was really good. One of the things about the Bad Batch is the animation is just astoundingly beautiful. Like that, I was just rewatching some clips from it, and the first shot when they pan in on Ord Mantell, that's just amazing. And so, like that animation style combined with the really cool premise of going on a heist to Corellia, basically, combined with the really great characters, combined with Trace and Rafa, not Race and Rafa, returning, who are such great characters from the Clone Wars as well, just made for a really, really good episode. And I thought the action worked well. It had one of the funniest jokes that I've seen in Star Wars when Echo was like, Echo, yeah, which made me laugh, and also some great foreshadowing. So all round was a really great episode, I thought.
Yeah, it certainly was an action-packed episode. We had that kind of freeway fight between the Batch, the sisters, and the Robo Police. They probably have an official name that's not the Robo Police. Yeah, I enjoyed the action. The factory sequence wasn't anything particularly revolutionary, but it was a good, fun, action-packed episode with some good humor. I'm with you on that, and the foreshadowing in terms of Wrecker continues. Where do you think that's taking us? Because his headache's getting worse. Crosshair's gone quiet. Meanwhile, actually, there's loads of. I'm just going to make this question even more complicated now, because there's loads of. It's not just Wrecker's headache that we should be concerned about or intrigued about. There's so much. I don't know, little sort of breadcrumbs of hints being scattered around for us. I don't think it's the most focused series so far, but there's so much dangling, like the mystery around Omega, Fennec Shand, why and who's she working for, and Wrecker's headache, Crosshair's silence, who was that mystery person at the end of the episode, which we'll probably find out about tomorrow. I've just took one thing there and then added about 11 other things there. So I suppose more generally, where do you think this is taking us, this thing, Jess?
One of the things, I suppose, in a general answer to that question, that I like about the Bad Batch is that I really don't know what to expect from it. So each episode, I stay away from kind of fan theories and stuff like that. So I really don't know where the episodes are going to go in terms of all these threads. But it does seem to be there's kind of a general story about what's happening with the clones and I suppose Wrecker's head and the whole what's happening to the Kaminoans. Why did the Kaminoans let Omega escape? Who Omega is? All that kind of coalesces into one story. And then combined that also with the kind of mercenary story with who is Fennec Shand, who are they speaking to at the end of the episode, which are two kind of, it's interesting to see how these two stories relate between the mercenaries and the clones. I thought I was going to get bored of Mercenaries because it's everywhere at the moment in Star Wars with the Mandalorian. The comics are doing War of the Bounty Hunters now, which is very good, and things like that. But the Bad Batch has added a fresh spin to it, in part, I think, because of adding in the dimensions with the clones. But where do I think Wrecker's headache is going? Well, I wish it's just a headache, but tragically, I think this episode revealed that it was probably his Order 66 reckoning, which makes me wonder whether the other Bad Batches are going to get that, but they might have, their ships were deactivated in some way that his wasn't, I think. So yeah, I hope Wrecker makes it through Order 66. I think it's going to be a multiple series show, so I really hope they don't kill him in episode 7. That would be distressing. But yes, I think he's probably going to have a bit of conflict with the other clones, and probably. Well, that made me think actually. If he is going to go all ham on the Jedi, that suggests that there might be a Jedi showing up, which could be Ahsoka, but we'll see.
Yes, well, I can see Ahsoka's been mentioned. Ahsoka was actually in the chat earlier, but I can see Ahsoka's been mentioned in relation to the Bad Batch in the chat, which I'm going to come on to and over to the chat in a moment. But yeah, we've been talking week in, week out about Wrecker's headache, and as you said, it's not going to go away. You know, paracetamols are not going to kill this one. Yeah, something's gonna give. Someone's maybe gonna give. I don't think they would kill him off in episode 7, but I feel like he or Crosshair's gonna go by the end of this series. That's my thinking.
Part of me hopes that Crosshair's going to be reintegrated into the Bad Batch, because he really drew the short straw in episode 1. They went from a cohesive group to being split apart. But yeah, I suppose you're right. I mean, he has become the antagonist of the show. Although that does remind me of, I'm not sure how familiar you are with or people are with the previous Star Wars comics, but there were those Stormtrooper hit group in the Star Wars line prior to this one, and people have wondered whether they're the Bad Batch in Stormtrooper form, because there's like a heavy one, a sniper one. I think Star Wars Explained talk about it, and since there's a sniper one and a heavy one, that suggests that maybe they both make it. But also, I don't think that theory is true. So just throwing out ideas.
Yeah, we'll see. No, I think there could be a redemption arc there for Crosshair. I think that'd be it's quite a Star Wars thing to do, and could also be quite interesting as well. Before I carry on with the Bad Batch, you might have seen this comment from Chad, and he's made a good point here. You interviewed Andy Seacombe, didn't you, for the Star Wars Society?
That was a real coup for the Society, I thought.
Yeah, and Chad actually suggested him to me for an episode of These Are the Actors You're Looking For. So I might have to tap you up for a contact, Jess. I don't know, Andy.
No, he was quite funny in his replies to my questions. I just did the thing where I sent over questions rather than interviewing him in person, but he seems quite a comic one, so I'm sure that'd be a good interview.
Yeah. No, he's on my list, but I haven't. I sort of every few months, because I record quite a few in advance, so I have 3 or 4 as a batch, a good batch, of course, and then a few months later, I'll start to reach out to other people to try and get another batch in advance as well. So he's on my list for that next batch. Anyway, watch this space. Okay, so let's talk about the hologram figure. There's all sorts of fan theories out there. Was it Ahsoka? Was it Rex? Was it Bail? Was it someone else? Popping over to the chat, Daniel Rigger says, to me, it was pretty clear it was Ahsoka, especially the cloak that looked like the one she used at the end of Rebels. And they already established a connection in Clone Wars. That's with the sisters. However, Glenn has been very observant here. The shoulder was too large to be Ahsoka. He thinks it's more like a Bail shoulder. Have you been studying shoulders, Star Wars shoulders, Glenn? So Glenn's going with Bail. Daniel's gone with Ahsoka. Chad seems to be going with Ahsoka as well, in the sense that he thinks it would make sense, but is it a bit too obvious, or would they make it that obvious? Daniel's also seen, I haven't seen this theory, Cad Bane has been mentioned by some fans, apparently. So there's another name we can add to the list. And Glenn adds, to counteract the Ahsoka theory, that she is supposed to be laying low still at this point, according to her book, which is not her autobiography. I'm pretty Sure. So, Jess, do you have any theories of your own here?
Yeah, well, I suppose I'd love if it was Cad Bane, because, I mean, I just want to hear his voice again because it's amazing in the Clone Wars. But in terms of when I first watched the episode, I know quite a lot of people think it's, well, as we've seen, Bail or Ahsoka. But when I first watched the episode, I kind of got the vibes that it was a more villainous character, which would be, I mean, it doesn't completely line up because Trace and Rafa are heroic characters. But based on when they were saying, we know where some clones are, that you might want to see it, I thought, my immediate thought was that it was Dryden Voss from Crimson Dawn, from Solo, especially since we basically know that he's going to be in the show, based on what Star Wars explained has said about his model being developed. And that would kind of tie in quite neatly with the comics at the moment, as we mentioned earlier. And when I was just rewatching it then, there's kind of the music at the end when they reveal the hologram. That's not light side music. It's mercenary music. And we know that Rafa has ties to the mercenary world, which he supposedly left behind, but it could be them. So I thought it was either Dryden Voss, or based on, I didn't want to do too much shoulder study, but I thought it looked like one of the Black Sun mercenary cloaks. So I thought maybe a mercenary, but then it could be Bail Organa. So one of those two. Fingers crossed it's Cad Bane. I saw
Maul shouted out somewhere on Twitter, but there's a lot of shouting out going on Twitter.
I briefly thought Maul, but then I thought, I don't know. I mean, Maul's story was kind of finished with the Siege of Mandalore, and I think, well, so was Ahsoka's, but Ahsoka pops up in everything. So I think Ahsoka's going to definitely come up at some point, because she always does. But I don't think this is Ahsoka. Although the fact that they did have Ahsoka's droid suggests that, I know it's probably not Dryden Voss, but that's where my mind went immediately.
But I mean, I've only I haven't finished season 8 of the Clone Wars because I was sort of racing to kind of watch it all as much as possible before the Bad Batch started. And I basically got up to and finished the Bad Batch arc in season 8, and then the Bad Batch started, and I will get back to it soon. So, my question is here, because I haven't gone on to Rebels yet. Is Ahsoka in Rebels?
Without spoiling anything, she has quite a central role in Rebels.
Okay, so she is in Rebels. Don't spoil anything else for me, because I don't really, apart from, I don't know much of her story after, well, I suppose episode 4 of the Clone Wars season 8. That's as far as I've got, up to the Mandalorian when she shows up. I don't know much about her story there, so I kind of assumed at some point she would go into hiding. But then actually, no, I did know this because I know about the Ezra thing. I know about the Ezra thing and the Thrawn thing. So I did know that, actually. But anyway, I don't know if it would make sense for her to be in the Bad Batch, but some people seem to think, obviously, it would make sense.
It would. I think because at this point she's left the Jedi Order, and whilst it might not align with the book, but I mean, this show is dismisses canon or kind of book canon quite regularly. Which I think is fine. She is kind of being involved with the emerging Rebel Alliance in a position called Fulcrum. So it would definitely make sense for her to be in it. And as Star Wars Meg said, it would not make much sense. I didn't know I could bring it up by clicking on it.
Hey, that was me. That was just timing.
As soon as I clicked, it did.
Yeah, she's questioning that.
I think it's true. It doesn't align that they would be in touch with Crimson Dawn because Rafa left her mercenary ways behind. That was just where my mind went immediately.
There is a lot of love for the Cad Bane idea. There's also a lot KMartery here going for Organa. Philip Hawkins as well thinks it's Bail. As Glenn says, the clothes match, the shoulder matches. I think I'm going with Bail Organa as well, to be honest. I'm going to play it safe. I feel like that's the safe bet. Maybe not the most exciting bet, but I feel like it's the safe bet, and I'm in a safe betting kind of mood. Philip Hawkins, you have reminded me, Phil, because it was on my notes for the start of the show. Never read my notes. Do go and check out the podcast that I did with Phil. We talked about it last week, and I have linked to it in the video description. If you're a Red Dwarf fan, Philip Hawkins, along with Adam Martin, they co-host a Red Dwarf review podcast, which also, apart from going on podcast platforms, it also goes on Philip's YouTube channel as well. And I joined them for an episode to review an episode of Red Dwarf. It was a lot of fun chatting with Phil and Adam. And like I said, I've linked to that in the video description. And Philip's channel in general, if you like Doctor Who, and also Red Dwarf and all sorts, really. You did some WandaVision, didn't you, Phil, as well, when that was running? Go and check it out. All right, so back to where we were. Well, yeah, David, come on now. David says the time for watching Rebels is upon you, young Stangroom. I'll take the young. But I don't feel the time is upon me. I mean, the time was upon me, what, 3 or 4 years ago or something? I feel like there's so much. I've got to go back and finish season 8 of the Clone Wars before. So I'm probably not going to go on to Rebels until the Bad Batch is finished. And also... I've then gone back and finished season 8 of the Clone Wars. I've got some heavy quarantining coming up because I'm going to a foreign land. And of course, going to a foreign land is not as simple as it used to be. And I have to quarantine in this country for 2 weeks, like proper not leave the house quarantine, and also in the other country as well. So I've got a lot of time for binging and catching up. So maybe do you feel like, Jess, I should probably stick with the Bad Batch first now before moving on to Rebels, or is it okay to sort of jump ahead?
You could well, Rebels was released, watching things in kind of release order is fine because Rebels won't have spoilers for either Bad Batch or the end of the Clone Wars because it was released before. But Rebels is definitely worth your time. Since that was a show that I grew up watching for Star Wars. And I think in many ways it's better than Clone Wars, and it has some really great arcs and some of Ahsoka's best moments. And also it will definitely link into the upcoming Ahsoka show. So there's a number of reasons that you would enjoy it. Speaking of
enjoying things, I don't often or ever go back and watch my own streams, but I think I'm going to have to, because there's been like a ding dong between members of the chat and Anakin Skywalker, who's now left the building because it's very late on Coruscant. So he's gone to get some sleep to recharge his Force batteries, which I'm going to have to go back and see what was going on there. I'm sold on Rebels. I was late to go to Clone Wars, really late to go to the Clone Wars, and that was partly because I think I've always been a little bit, I don't know, a little bit snobbish maybe towards the animated Star Wars. I think there was a little bit of that. Not in a kind of, well, it's not my Star Wars, I'm a live action Star Wars. Just, I don't know. I've just never really had the same feeling of excitement towards sitting down and watching a Star Wars cartoon. But I have to say, that's probably the minority of the problem. The main problem was that I watched the Clone Wars movie and it put me off. I didn't want more, to be honest.
The Clone Wars movie is not the best entrance point for animation.
No, and that was like for many, that was my entry point for Star Wars animation. And anyway, I got back into the Clone Wars and did enjoy it. And people here in the chat for weeks now have persuaded me that Rebels is also worth a go, and also changed my kind of feeling of what Rebels is like. I always assumed Rebels was, I know there's the Resistance, but I always assumed that Rebels was like a more sort of child-friendly Star Wars, and Clone Wars was maybe a bit more edgier and darker. But I've learned from the guys here that no, Rebels is the darker one.
Well, yeah, as with lots of the animated shows, it kind of starts off. The season 1 and to a lesser extent 2 of Clone Wars, Rebels, is definitely more child friendly. But then because it was airing on the Disney Channel, but in terms of the themes and what happens, it kind of gets more gritty, I suppose you could say.
Chad makes a good point here. I mean, the scary thing about jumping into all the shows is that it admits you are a full nerd. You are no longer a sane, grounded fan. You are obsessed and you know it all. Yes, heading to that territory for sure. I just saw something I wanted to bring up. Star Wars Meg is counteracting the Bail Organa theory. She says, my only problem with the Bail Organa theory is why would they build so much suspense at the end of the episode for a relatively minor character reveal later? Glenn, the Geeky Hippie, says Bail Organa is a big deal. Star Wars Meg comes back and says, I mean, compared to Rex or Fulcrum. Yeah, I don't think. I know that's not what Meg meant there. Bale's not a minor character, but he's probably a more obvious choice, isn't he?
Yeah, I was thinking because Star Wars Explained thought it was Bale Organa, and I think whilst that makes sense to the story, and potentially part of the reason I thought it was Dryden Voss is because if it was Bale Organa, it would be a bit like, oh, that's cool, but not as cool as it could be. But then I think it should be to do with the story rather than wow factor, I suppose.
Yeah, well, we will be finding out tomorrow. Yeah, in a matter of hours. Peter has joined the chat. Good to see you, Peter. Peter, just in case you're avoiding Bad Batch spoilers or anything, we did do the regular Geeknd live show earlier on, but we're now talking about the Bad Batch, just in case you're trying to avoid spoilers. So are you, Jess, are you like there? Like we get it in the morning here in the UK. It's pretty much there when you wake up, I suppose. I've not been coming to it as quickly as I was with The Mandalorian, so I don't know what time it goes live. But are you there first thing in the morning, refreshing that Disney Plus page?
I am. I think I'm not sure if it's the same with everyone in the UK, but it usually comes up at 8. So I usually go down, wake up at 9, have a nice lie-in, have my breakfast, and then run upstairs, watch the Bad Batch, which is nice. It's actually good, and it'll be just before my exam tomorrow, so I'll have Bad Batch and then an exam to look forward to. So that's great.
The Bad Batch doesn't count as revision.
Well,
should you not wait till after the exam?
Well, there's no point revising just before an exam, and I want to enjoy the Bad Batch.
Yeah, and I imagine then you would be on this line with Peter that the episodes are too short.
Yeah, I always think that was Star Wars because it's always so good, but then I thought the first episode was a bit too long. So that there's a golden median which it could hit.
And Leona says, I spent last summer self-isolating, watching Clone Wars and Rebels from the start. I regret nothing. That is good to hear. And I think I'll be doing a little bit of that, self-isolating, binge watching next month. Let's hope I don't regret it. I'm sure I won't. Andrej, I think here makes the point that they want you to talk about it for a week and keep that speculation, that conversation going. And yeah, we had that with The Mandalorian as well. And I'm glad that on Disney Plus, at least, they are going for the weekly releases rather than dropping it all in one, like a lot of Netflix series do. I like, even though obviously it would be great to sit there and just binge them all. Let's be honest, we all would. There's no way we'd wait and think, no, I'm going to wait a week, and discuss this with friends, and we'd all be watching it all at once. I prefer the weekly releases. It's great from a YouTube, content creating point of view, but also, that's what keeps the fandom mostly healthy, at least alive anyway. The speculation and the discussion.
No, I agree. The weekly releases it reminds me of like watching Doctor Who growing up, when you'd get just an episode every week, and that'd be a good few months of your life planned out. So I definitely prefer weekly, and also binge shows are a very different type of like storytelling, I think, because it's kind of like one long movie, whereas I don't think Bad Batch would work in that binge way.
Yeah, right. I think the time has come for me to ask you in the chat to drop. Let's just say hello as well to FKR as well. If I've missed anyone else in the chat, I'm sorry. It's not personal. It's time now to drop your scores, your marks out of 10 for The Bad Batch, Episode 6, The Commission. So put those ratings in the chat and I will come back over to it in a moment. Yes, meanwhile, I'm expecting quite a high score from you because you've already branded this episode as your favorite episode
It was a big claim.
Yet. So what score are you giving it?
I gave it a 9 out of 10. The only reason I didn't quite get the 10 was because when I was rewatching it, the action in the middle dragged a little bit. But I think since I had such a fun experience of watching it the first time, and all Star Wars is basically an 8 or above for me, I'll give it a 9.
That's just a default, an 8.
Default.
So you've never, there's nothing Star Wars.
Well, I mean, there's some Star Wars stuff
you'd
I
give,
like less than other, like Resistance,
but not less than 8. Not for less than 8.
Not less than 8. I might give, certain issues of the comics a 7 out push.
Do you have a standout moment from this episode? Is it possible to pick one?
Standout moment would probably be when the fight scene on the moving parts in the factory, because it reminded me of Attack of the Clones, which is a very good movie. Yeah,
there's been quite a lot of Attack of the Clones vibes in this series so far. I mean, I know it's the prequel era, but obviously many years will pass between Attack of the Clones and where the Bad Batch was set. But there was the episode, what was the one before with Fennec Shand? I can't remember what planet it was. The car traffic, scenes in the city. That was reminding me of Attack of the Clones for sure. Okay, so you're saying 9 out of 10 for Decommissioned. My score before we go over to the chat. Okay, like last week was my lowest score so far. It was a 6 out of 10. Jess, I do this every week. I'm not giving low scores here. I think a 6. I gave episode 1 I think a 7 or a 7.5. That is for me the best episode so far and the highest score I gave. I think, and if you go back to my Mandalorian reviews, I mean, don't just be a waste of time. You just get bored. But I don't think I gave much over an 8. And I love the Mandalorian. I'm of the opinion that 5 is the halfway point between 1 and 10. It is average. 5 is average. There's nothing wrong with average. That's what my mum always told me. I'm average. I'm average, and there's nothing wrong with me apparently. So, I think anything above average, anything above 5 is good. Yeah, average is good. So when I gave a 6 last week, to some it might seem shocking, harsh, ruthless, but I think that's okay. I'm going to nudge this one up to 6.5. I've given a lot of 6.5s out of 10. I think I will be giving higher scores at some point. I don't think a 7 is going to be the highest score that I've given. I think this show is heading towards a clear sense, idea of its identity, if you like. I think it needs that as well. It needs to move up a gear or two. I think that's going to come. I think there's a lot of big moments and fantastic episodes ahead. But so far, we've had a lot of good episodes. I'm going with another 6.5. No, they do not. No, they do not, Glenn. Mothers do not lie. They do not lie. All right, I'm going to the chat now to get the scores. Who was first? Well, Gaz was not first to be here. He was last to be here, late, but he's here. Gaz, welcome. Let us know your score. Jess, you have not given the highest score. Glenn the Geeky Hippie currently holds that title. 9.2 from Glenn. Chad has given it an 8. Glenn has also added it as his favorite episode since the pilot. Also an 8 from Chad, who feels like the season overall has been a bit of an 8 so far. 7 out of 10 from Meg. We've got an 8.5 from Phil there. And an 8.29, we could say an 8.5 from FKR there. So there's high scores. Oh, I think I've got the lowest one, haven't I, so far? Leona's given it an 8 as well. 7.8 from Peter. Once again, they're too short for him. Specifically, I thought you said 20 minutes too short, which I thought was, being very specific there. Was it a 20-minute episode? I suppose it was when you take out the titles and the credits. Yeah. And I think we have our scores in. No, we don't. Gaz, we do. Gaz hasn't a score, but he loved it. He loved it. 5 out of 10 from Ondrej, because I don't like those sisters. They are super annoying. And also a 7 from Daniel Rigger. I'd say 7. I like where the series is going, though. I also didn't care about the Bad Batch at first. Didn't think I'd like the series. Yeah, I'm not in a position where I can say that I watched the Clone Wars in real time like everybody else, season 8, and was introduced to the Bad Batch. But from what I hear, not many people, watched that series and came away from it thinking, what I'd really like is a series, a whole brand new series, maybe multiple series dedicated to that bunch of clones. When I was introduced to them in the Clone Wars, I already knew that we were going to have that season. So yeah, I think the Bad Batch themselves, the individual characters are mostly, it seems, growing on people, becoming more interesting, at least. And of course, with the addition of Amiga as well. Oh, Gaz has come back with an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10. Really enjoyed the episode, finding it hard to put a score to it, but room for improvement, 8 out of 10. Chad says, I was able to walk away from today with saying I'm an honorary member of the Cambridge group. That is the Star Wars Society. Cambridge University Star Wars Society. And don't forget to go and check out their website, video link in the video description. Also a link for Jess's Twitter. Go and give Jess a follow and keep up with all Jess's good work, Star Wars and beyond. Jess, is there anything you would like to add before we say goodbye?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a joy to be on and to get to know the chat and to talk about the Bad Batch. And yeah, it's been a fun way to spend my evening. So thank you very much. And also, I was just going to say, if people want to follow me on Twitter, then we can hang out more. So that'd be cool. But no worries if not.
Go and hang out with Jess on Twitter. Do it. Do it. It's in the video description and it's right in front of you now at Jess Black. There you go. No, thank you, Jess, for joining. It's been great to have you, and thank you again for having me on your end as well over the years. I think it's been, and also thank you to all Patreon members as well. There's something I didn't forget to do. I always forget to show this graphic, but I didn't this time. Here we go. Wrong graphic on again now. It's the chat batch, isn't it? Correct graphic to end the stream. Thank you to everybody in the chat. I will be back with this again next Thursday. So no Monday chat batch next week, but on Thursday we'll do the Geeknd live and then seamlessly blend into the chat batch where we will know who that person, that shadowy hologrammy figure was. So thank you everybody for watching, and once again thank you to Jess, which is sentiment echoed by Glenn, who gets the final comment readout. Have a great evening and enjoy your weekend, Jess. Just follow. So there you go. One person's going to hang out with you at least. You won't be lonely this weekend on Twitter. I'll see you there as well. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Oh.